What's good, y'all? It's your boy NeedForSheed coming back with the last prediction of the year. Now, I didn't do anything last week because it was just a Pro Bowl, but for this week, it's the Super Bowl. We got Kansas City versus Philadelphia. Patrick Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts, top two MVP candidates. Travis Kelce versus Jason Kelce. Yeah, brother on brother. You got a running game versus passing game. You got all of that all in one. So we're going to talk about that. But also in this video, I will give who I believe will win each award that is on the list. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Assistant of the Year, Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, and of course MVP. I'll be talking about all of those in this video. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my series, my NFL predictions, my recap for all the weeks. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Shout out to Malcolm X, Black History Month, Wakanda Forever, all of that. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Let's get this thing started. Quick little recap. Kansas City beat Cincinnati 2 weeks ago. And Philly beat San Francisco. Philly beat they got down to their fourth-string quarterback, and everybody got hurt. Brock Purdy couldn't even lift up his arm. So Philly won, but it was a mismatch after all the quarterbacks got hurt. So shout out to Philly for winning that. Kansas City, Cincinnati, very close game, very tough game. Kansas City pulled it out. It was some missed calls on both sides of the ball, but a lot of them benefited Kansas City. But hey, at the end of the day, Joe Burrow turned the ball over a couple of times as well, so it could have went either way. They did a lot of talking, and Kansas City shut them up, and they let them know that they shut them up. So shout out to them. Yeah, your mayor, stupid. You can't go in there and say this. Y'all can't say this Burrow head. Eli Apple, you need to really stop talking because you think you that guy, and you really not. You looking like Josh Norman right now. Yeah. So shout out to the Eagles. Shout out to the Chiefs. Now, let's go ahead and go into these candidates for these players of the year. And after I finish that, I will give you my prediction on who I think I will win the Super Bowl in Arizona, Kansas City, or Philadelphia. So let's start with the defensive rookie of the year. Sauce Gardner, Aiden Hutchinson, Tariq Woolen. Me personally, I feel like they will give this one to Sauce Gardner because he was first team All Pro as a rookie. Now, he is a very long cornerback, very good in man coverage, everything like that. He did get away with a lot of holding this year. Sauce was holding. If you really watch the tape, that's why some of those receivers getting irritated pushing him. Yeah, he locked him down sometimes, but he's also very long and lanky, and he's holding a lot. If you watch that tape, he was holding. If you want to be real about it, Aiden Hutchinson really had a solid uh, defensive year for defensive end, especially for Detroit. I forgot if he had 8.5 sacks. I think he had. I might be wrong, but I think that's what he had. Definitely should have won number one over Trayvon Walker, but upside. But he's more polished. He did a good thing. He's going to help rebuild that Detroit defense that can help take that offense and that team to the next level if they can get that right. And Tariq Woolen, nobody saw this coming out of Seattle. They drafted him. He had a phenomenal rookie year. I really do believe he will be one of the top cornerbacks coming out very soon. But for defense rookie of the year, I can't lie. I got to go with Sauce Gardner. Offensive rookie of the year, we got Brock Purdy, Kenneth Walker, and Garrett Wilson. Now, let's go ahead and put this out here. Ain't no way in hell Brock Purdy is supposed to be on this list. I don't care. He went 6-0, 7-0. He ain't lost since he started. He did not play a full season. It's called Offensive Rookie of the Year, not of a specific part of the season. No, he shouldn't have been over here. You know who should have been over here? Chris Olave. Chris Olave should have been in here over Brock Purdy. And if Brees Hall didn't get hurt, Brees Hall would have been in too. So I don't know why they put Brock Purdy in here. So I don't think he's going to win it. Me personally, I think Garrett Wilson's going to win it because with the quarterback play he had in New York with Mike White, Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, that circus of quarterbacks, he still produced in that system. So me personally, I gotta give to Garrett Wilson. Honestly, it might have been Chris Olave for me if Brock Purdy wasn't in here, but they gave him position because he went undefeated and everything. But me personally, I don't think he should have been that thing. That should have been Chris Olave. But out of these, I'm gonna give it to Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. Will I be surprised if Brock Purdy wins it? No. But I'm taking Garrett Wilson. Assistant Coach of the Year, Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions, D'Amico Ryans from the San Francisco 49ers, and Shane Steichen. I don't remember his last name. Offense coordinator for Philadelphia. Me personally, I'm taking the offense coordinator for Philadelphia. I'm taking him out because I don't know if he officially calls plays or Nick Sirianni calls plays. I'm not 100% sure. So me personally, if it's a toss up, I can't put you there. So I think since their record was so good, that they put him in there, so I'm gonna leave that. So it really comes down to Ben Johnson and D'Amico Ryans. Me personally, I think D'Amico Ryans wins assistant coach of the year. The way he had that defense playing all year, even with the quarterback carousel that they had, he was always in the game and he was always keeping his team in the game because that defense, number one across the board, best defense in the league. He kept it there all year, even with your first string quarterback on that second string, you get your third string, and even in the playoff, they held Philadelphia down as long as they could. They just didn't have a quarterback that could throw the ball. So me personally, and Ben Johnson did a great job for Detroit. Detroit offense wasn't the problem in Detroit; it was defense because offensively they could put 30 on you like that. Jared Goff had a good year. You got Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, Amon St. Brown, DJ Chark. They just now incorporated Jameson Williams. They traded T.J. Hawkinson. So me personally, offense was not the problem, and he called a great year. So shout out to him. Shout out to Ben Johnson. Me personally, I'm getting into D'Amico Ryans. All right, now coach of the year: Brian Daboll of the Giants, Doug Peterson of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers. Now, Kyle Shanahan is going to get a lot of credit because he got down to his third string quarterback, and if he didn't get hurt, it's a good chance that they could have won that game and be in the Super Bowl right now with the third string, Mr. Irrelevant quarterback. So kudos to him. But the thing I will give him credit for is the quarterback. But that team is stacked. If they had any top 10 quarterback uh, on that team, they've been the favorites. They have been the favorites. Go put Justin Herbert on that team. Go put Josh Allen. Go put even then. Okay, let's go put a Trevor Lawrence on that team, or go put any of those top 10. Go put a Derek Carr or somebody on that team, and I bet you San Francisco will be favorites in most of it. So he did a great coaching job. Don't get me wrong, but that team is stacked. Doug Peterson, very big consideration because at the beginning of the year, it didn't look like they was going to make the playoffs, and they got on a hot roll. Also, Tennessee imploded, like went down under. They didn't even stand a chance. So that was ugly. But shout out to Doug Peterson because he turned it around and he proved that that team always had talent. Urban Meyer just didn't know what the hell he was doing down there. He needed to go back to college football. That's honestly what it was. So shout out to Doug Peterson and Brian Daboll. What he did with Daniel Jones, he limited the turn. I think Daniel Jones had 9 or 10 turnovers this year, where he's accustomed to fumbling every year, fumbling bad, throwing bad interceptions and everything. He got that team, that defense really stepped up. The Thibodeau draft was great. That defense was legit. I liked it. But what he did with Daniel Jones, he actually made him look like he was worthy of a top 10 pick when he was drafted. Saquon was healthy the whole year, and he showed why he was a top running back prospect coming out because he was healthy. I'd say my coach of the year is Brian Daboll because the receiving talent that they have in New York is not that good. Kenny Golladay, one of the worst signings. Sterling Shepard always hurt. Slayton always hurt. You got Saquon or bust. That's just what it was. And him coming down on turnovers and getting them into the playoffs and them winning a playoff game against Minnesota on the road is wild. It is wild. They really did that. So me personally, I got Brian Daboll because he turned that franchise around in 1 year and he turned Daniel Jones around. So if they get some more pieces, I think they can really make some noise. So I'm going with Brian Daboll as my coach of the year. Comeback player of the year: Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Geno Smith. All right, let's start with Saquon. Saquon was actually healthy this year, and he looked like a Pro Bowl running back. He was a Pro Bowl running back. He did everything that he was supposed to do this year. So shout out to Saquon. He really looked like the number 2 pick that he was. Christian McCaffrey, dual threat in the slot receiver, running back, catching the ball. He does it all. He's been injured the last few years. He finally was healthy for the majority of this year. I still think he should have made the Pro Bowl. They talking about well, he switched teams and he had that much. He did decent enough in Carolina, and I don't care about the switching teams. Roquan Smith went all the way to the AFC and still was a Pro Bowler. So I don't care about that changing teams or nothing like that. That don't matter to me. And his numbers weren't that terrible when he was in Carolina. Then the way he jumped up when he went to San Francisco and played with a competent team and quarterback, you see how he looked. But to me, I got to give it to Geno. Excuse me, because Saquon and Christian McCaffrey has always been looked at as top tier talents when healthy. They can change your team. They can change the game. Geno has been a backup for the past 8 years. He was drafted in the second round by the New York Jets. He has been on the Chargers, the Seahawks. He's been a backup for years. He get his chance, and he gets here. And not only does he get his chance, he makes the Pro Bowl, and he gets the team into the playoffs and plays a very good first half against San Francisco. Then they got blew out in the second half. His story, they wrote me off, but I ain't right back. That statement alone to me puts Geno Smith. I had Geno Smith as my comeback player of the year because nobody expected him to even have a successful season, and he led them to the playoffs and was a Pro Bowl quarterback. I don't know how Geno doesn't win this. Now to the top three: defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year, and MVP. Let's start with the defensive player of the year. The candidates are Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, Mike Parsons. Mike Parsons, shout out to a very great start. I think he ended up with 13 and a half sacks, 14 sacks. Great start. But it was some games in there where he didn't get a sack, didn't get a pressure, barely got any tackles. They was able to, chip him and everything like that. It was tough on him at times, and I think he's still trying to figure out the actual game instead of just relying on athleticism and everything like that. Great talent, phenomenal talent, another Pro Bowl for him. He's going to be here. He's going to eventually get his, just not this year. Chris Jones was the best defensive tackle this year. Now, Aaron Donald is the best defensive tackle, bar none. We understand that. That's completely true. But for this season, Chris Jones outplayed him. He had a better year. He was a legit worth that contract. He was legit Pro Bowl, All Pro. He was that guy this year, Chris Jones. And then he was one of the main reasons they beat Cincinnati because those 2 sacks that he got was so crucial. So shout out to Chris Jones. But for me, defense player of the year, he's at the top. Nick Bosa. I think Nick Bosa finished with 18 and a half sacks. You could just see the relentlessness he has of rushing the passer, the strength, the speed. He can change the game. He has multiple sack games, 2 sacks. I think he might have a 3-sack game. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he does. He has 1, 2 sacks a game, 18 and a half sacks. And he was even limping in some of these games. But when the rubber needed to meet the road, you knew he was the best player on the defense. Well, you could say him or Fred Warner. That's up to you. You can say Nick Bosa or Fred Warner is the best defense player on that team. But for me, this year, my money is on Nick Bosa getting that defensive player of the year. Now, offensive player of the year, my homeboy, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. Now, before I answer this, I feel if Jalen Hurts didn't get hurt at the end of the year, he wouldn't be considered for offensive player of the year. But I feel like since he had such a great year, but he missed those last couple of games, that took him out of the MVP discussion, but they still want to vote him something. So they put him in offensive player of the year. Me personally, at the beginning of the year, it was Tyreek Hill starting off. He was just murdering people. But the way Justin Jefferson finished this year and almost eclipsing 2,000 yards with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback, the way Minnesota won all those one-score games, and Justin Jefferson was a big reason why in most of those games. Mahomes, I think they just put him in here just because, but he's really in the MVP discussion. Tyreek Hill had a phenomenal year. I think he slowed down, got hurt a little bit. Jalen Hurts, to me, I'm taking Justin Jefferson as the offensive player of the year. But I would not be surprised if they give it to Jalen Hurts because of the season that he had and the fact that he missed those couple of games. They won't hold it against him as much as they would the MVP. So to me personally, I get Justin Jefferson, but I would not be surprised if Jalen Hurts wins that. And for the big dog, the MVP, we got Justin Jefferson, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That's a lot of J's over there. There's a lot of J's over there. But unfortunately for me and for them, but it's really not unfortunate for me. I just want, them to feel included what I'm about to say. None of the Jays are going to win this. Justin Jefferson, receiver, hey, had a great phenomenal year. Receivers don't win MVP. That's just what it is. He even tweeted, I'm just happy to be nominated because he already know that ain't even finna happen. So that's cool. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts would have had a legitimate spot on here. He would be neck and neck. He might have even won if he didn't miss those 2 games. He might have even won this award, but he's definitely finishing second to me. Josh Allen, preseason favorite. He did what he had to do at the beginning of the year. He was on a roll, but then he got on that skid. People start getting hurt. He started turning the ball over, like 2 turnovers a game. It could be a fumble, interception. You start overcompensating for everything. Now, Buffalo ain't doing no favors. As much as people like, man, Buffalo had one of the best teams, all that. Looking at the offense, they had 1 receiver, Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is too inconsistent. McKenzie, Dawson Knox is solid, but they had no running game. Singletary didn't do nothing. James Cook, he was decent. Josh Allen was your running game. So you need to rebuild that offensive line, add 1 or 2 more offensive linemen, get a second legit receiver. You got Michael Thomas out there, you got Brandon Cooks. Go put another receiver on side of Stephon Diggs and rebuild that defense. But Josh Allen did. He was a Pro Bowl quarterback. I understand that, but fell short. Joe Burrow had a phenomenal year towards the middle end. They picked it up and they was on the roll, 8-game winning streak and everything. Beginning of the year was little struggles. Offensive line was still struggling pretty bad. They actually looked worse than they did last year. He threw a couple of multiple interception games. But as the season went on, they got better and better. Chase missed a couple of weeks with the hip injury, but they eventually got better and better. And Joe Burrows, that was the main reason why they stayed afloat. He had a phenomenal year. He did everything well. So I think he will be in the MVP discussion in future years, everything like that. But if we being honest, the MVP this year is my homeboy. Number 1 in touchdowns, I think, yards, QBR. He had it, everything. Still got his team to the number 1 seed. Got the bye. Beat Jacksonville and then beat Cincinnati, who they were 0-3 against. So Joe Burrow had his number. He finally beat them and went to the Super Bowl. 5 AFC Championship games in a row, 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. He already won 1 MVP. This time he's about to win his 2nd MVP. You just look at him. He just completes every throw that he needs to make. He makes the big play when you need him. People say Joe Burrow playing quarterback better than him and everything. He might understand it a little bit better. Cool, all that. Who's the best player on the field? It's my homeboy. Ain't even close. To me, best quarterback in the league, best player in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if they voted him number 1 this year on the NFL Top 100. They voted him number 1 because he's going to win MVP. So that is my vote for MVP. So MVP, Patrick Mahomes, Offensive Player of the Year, Justin Jefferson, Defense Player of the Year, Nick Bosa, Comeback Player of the Year, Geno Smith, Coach of the Year, Brian Daboll, Assistant Coach of the Year, D'Amico Ryans, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Garrett Wilson, and Defensive Rookie of the Year, Sauce Gardner. That is my predictions of who will win the awards. Now, let's go ahead and wrap this up with who I think was going to win in the Super Bowl between Kansas City and Philadelphia. Philadelphia has the better team, all-around team. Defensively, that defense line is stout, but Kansas City has a decent offensive line. But on the flip side, Kansas City's defensive line is solid, it's okay, but that Eagles offensive line is the best in the world. Best offensive line in the world, and everybody has a week to get healthy and everything like that. Philly is just a more complete team, but I don't know why I'm taking my homeboy. I feel like he finds a way. They win this game 28-24. I think it's going to be a game like that, 28-24. I got Kansas City winning. I don't know why. I think the Cinderella story for Mahomes. He wins the MVP. He wins another Super Bowl, and this really solidifies him as the number 1 player in the world. He's already there for most of us, but if he goes in and beats a well-balanced, better all-around roster of a team in Philly, in Phoenix, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else you can say to me. I mean, no, what else you gonna say? Me, I'm gonna take my homeboy. I'm gonna take Kansas City, very close game. I say 28-24, Kansas City. Now, Philly will win this game. Am I going to be surprised? Not at all. I think I'm probably picking with my heart more than my head, because my head telling me the better team is Philly. But for some reason, I got faith in my homeboy to pull this out. So I'm going to say 28-24. Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you guys for being with me. I hope you guys have enjoyed my new content. I got other stuff that's coming, and I'll see you guys next year for football. But continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because I got other content and other sports content coming out as well. You feel me?